Hello there, I'm Charlie Fuchs, joined on the line with Ryan Sweet of Moody Analytics to discuss the US Beige Book and US retail data releases. Ryan, welcome. Firstly, the US retail sales data released on Tuesday showed that in June, retail sales increased 0.2%, after having increased 0.5% in May. Overall, it is apparent that retail sales rebounded substantially in Q2, though in the long term, the outlook for retail sales and private consumption in coming months remains solid. Do you see this as a likely outcome for what we heard on Tuesday?
Yeah, I think the U.S. consumer is doing their part in supporting the recovery. I think fundamentals are in place that will point towards stronger consumption over the next few months. Just to give you a few numbers, third quarter real spending in the U.S. will rise 3.5%. That's much better than the 1% that we saw in the first quarter and the 1.7% that we're tracking in the second quarter. So the consumer is going to do more of the heavy lifting in the next few months, and that's partly attributed to the stronger job market. Job growth is accelerated in the U.S. Wage growth is picking up. Consumer confidence is improving a little bit. And equity prices are rising along with house prices, and that's providing a little bit of a lift to consumer spending via the wealth effect. Looking at the composition of spending, it's still going to be in autos. We expect vehicle sales to be fairly strong for the rest of this year, running around 17 million annualized units, which is significant improvement than what we saw during the teeth of the recession when vehicle sales were south of 10 million annualized units. The one concern is food prices and energy prices. For a little bit of a while, the energy prices seem to be rising up the list of concerns, but they have moderated a little bit. But as long as food prices remain well behaved, I think household purchasing power should remain intact.
Yesterday, the Fed released its Beige Book, which was forecast to highlight labour market improvements with very limited wage pressures. How does this preconceived forecast compare to the outcome of yesterday's data release?
Yeah, the Beige Book is very useful in looking at anecdotes across the U.S., and the general takeaway was wage pressures are fairly benign, which has been the case since the recovery began in mid-2009. There were a few anecdotes that businesses were grumbling about difficulty in finding qualified workers. Some were having to raise starting salaries to prevent workers from going to the competition. Those are just little signs of tight job markets here and there throughout the U.S. But generally, looking at the big picture, the job market in the U.S., there's still a significant amount of slack. There's the number of people working part-time for economic reasons is uncomfortably high. The number of long-term unemployed remains elevated. The duration of unemployment is long. All of that is putting downward pressure on wages. So wages over the past year average hourly earnings over the past year have risen about 2%, which is barely keeping pace with inflation. At this point in an economic expansion, we should be seeing much stronger wage growth. And the lack or the absence of wage growth suggests that the unemployment rate, which is currently 6.1%, is a little bit misleading, because if the unemployment rate was this close to our estimate of full unemployment, which is 5.5%, so we're getting pretty close to that, we should see much stronger wage growth by now. But it really hasn't panned out. And until we get stronger wage growth, we're not going to get significantly stronger consumer spending, because the relationship between consumer spending and wage growth is very tight this cycle. In fact, it's much tighter than we've seen in past cycles.
It was also reported in the Beige Book that in the month of June, consumer spending expanded across almost all districts. What's your forecast for consumer spending in July, and how does this reflect what we heard from the most recent Beige Book data release?
Yes, the Beige Book was provided some good news on the consumer front, not only just on retail sales, but also on tourism. It seems that consumers are starting to taking a few more vacations here and there. I think this is just related to the pent-up demand during the recession. Americans really tightened the purse strings. They opted not to go on as many vacations, or they opted for staycations where they just stayed at home. Now that the job market's improving, people are feeling more comfortable with their job security. Incomes are ticking a little bit higher, but not too quickly. Confidence is improving. All the fundamentals point towards a little bit stronger tourism over the next several months in the U.S. I think for the consumer, I think July, it's difficult to say how July is shaping up. It's a little bit early, but I think vehicle sales are going to remain solid. It's going to be really important for non-auto retail sales to pick up. They were fairly strong in June. We look at control retail sales, which takes total retail sales and excludes autos, building materials, gasoline, and spending at restaurants. And that was fairly favorable, and it suggests that spending is on a positive trajectory heading into the third quarter. So I think July will be another decent month for consumer spending. It's not going to be a blowout month. I don't think we're going to see blowout retail numbers until we get the wage growth to really start to pick up, and that's going to start in the fourth quarter of this year and into 2015.
Well, that's all we've time for. Thank you, Ryan, for all your comments. Do continue to click back on the Dukascopy site for more insights into your trading week. But for now, goodbye.